Okay, everyone, we have got to talk about what has happened with the basically falling out of the Cancel podcast with Brooke Schofield and Tana Mongeau. Before that, if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I've been reminding people at the start of videos, and the amount of people subscribing is crazy. I would really appreciate it. I'm here every day, and I would really appreciate you subscribing. And also, my Patreon deal worked out really well because I have it all set really cheap right now. So I decided to keep it going another couple days. So if you want to join the Patreon, it's a huge support because, again, I don't really do sponsorships. You can get 30% off my Patreon using the code Bonnie and Dolly right now. And if you go over, you can watch me react to Trisha Paytas's Big Broadway Dream, me watching the entirety of Escape the Night Season 3, the entirety of Escape the Night Season 2, the entirety of Season 1, the entirety of Mr. Beast Games, and also for those who have subscribed, our videos for November, we are going to be finishing the Ruby Frankie Devil in the Family documentary. We're going to be doing episodes 2, episodes 3. We are going to be watching Escape the Night Season 4, and we are also going to be watching Michael Weiss TanaCon documentary that is copyrighted. It's on his YouTube, but it's copyrighted, which means basically the reason I do the Patreon is not just me being like, please give me money. Even though that's a really big support and it allows me to continue doing this. But I react to copyrighted stuff, which is Escape the Night and the documentaries and the Trisha Broadway and stuff. But the Michael Weiss documentary, it's on YouTube, but if you go to the description, it says copyrighted. So we're going to watch it on the Patreon and get to the nitty gritty. So again, the code is only going to be valid for another maybe couple days. So if you want to subscribe now, you'll be able to get it with that cheaper price, and then you'll be able to see everything when I upload it. But yeah, that is code Bonnie and Dolly. But anyways, let's get to what is going on with the Cancel podcast. Okay, so as we know, it has ended. Spoilers! And the ending of it has been really interesting to watch unfold. Now, Brooke and Tana have both said that they, think that their relationship with each other is going to get a lot closer after ending the podcast. And I do believe them to an extent. I think working with your friends can be, very challenging. And, when money's involved in creative decisions, and they were on tour for like the entire year, and that on itself is stressful. But also, they both changed so much from what the origins of the Cancel podcast were. They're both settled down now, etc., etc. But what's really interesting is in the ending of the Cancel podcast, it seems like a very mutual decision, whereas now it's kind of looking like Brooke is saying that she didn't want to end the podcast and that it was more so Tana's decision, which I think we could all predict that it was Tana's decision. Brooke's basically talking about her cancellation and how she thinks that affected Tana Mongeau. But also something even more interesting, which I've been seeing so many people talk about, is, Tana created the podcast with Trisha, the Not Love Line, during Cancelled. Was that the name of it? Cancelled. I thought of the Taylor Swift song. Good thing I like my friends Cancelled. During it, in the last couple months of it, or whatever it was towards the end of Cancelled, right? And it was a project with Trisha, and it definitely seemed like an incoming replacement for the Cancel podcast. Everyone involved said that it was completely separate, but what we're seeing is since the ending of Cancelled, Tana has ramped up her promotion of the Not Loveline podcast with Trisha Paytas, and they both went to Alex Cooper, Call Her Daddy's event with Unwell in Vegas, which was a live show, and Trisha got presented with the Unwell award for or Unreal, or whatever the fuck it's called, for Person of the Year, whatever the fuck it was. And then Tana was there present with Trisha, and they're basically getting into that universe now. And basically Tana and Trisha have been wearing Unwell merch on the podcast, and they're basically saying about how the Not Loveline podcast is going to be acquired by Unwell and given a bunch of money, and Alex Cooper is going to give them all this money. And Tana's posting it being talking about the incoming deal being I'm going to be able to buy a yacht and all this. And people are comparing it to Brooke, basically speaking up about the fact that actually she's going to be in a worse position after the Cancel podcast, and Tana's decision. And a lot of people are kind of side-eyeing Tana with it. Now, I see both sides in this because both of them should be allowed to walk away from a project whenever they feel need. It's not that deep, specifically if their contract was up. Let's just get that first and foremost. But it must be a little bit upsetting for Brooke to, build this brand with Tana and then Tana completely like just pivot to the other podcast and basically make this deal about how she's gonna, you know, basically be able to retire off the Not Love Line podcast and stuff. And so Brooke went on a podcast and basically was asked about the ending of Cancelled, and a lot of people were sending me clips on TikTok, so I went and basically like was watching the podcast, and I thought we should go through this really interesting part together. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get to it.
We're always like, I don't think we'll cover next season. It's just too much.
It is a lot. But I mean, you know, you are coming off like two or 3 weeks ago. You and Tana did your last episode of Cancelled, which was watched by many. I think a lot of people were left with, some might say, more questions than answered. You were very emotional in that. Tana seemed less so emotional. I know you spent 4 hours talking about it, but it also felt like I think a lot of people were thinking like you didn't really want it to end.
Yeah.
And then it was more like one-sided, but maybe you guys just handle emotions differently. But I guess like, you know, why did it end?
Tana's fake crying in that last episode almost fucking killed me. And
just how are you feeling about it 2 weeks or a few weeks after the interview about it ending? And is it really over? Because you guys have ended it in the past and come back.
Yeah, well, the first time we ended it, it was an accident. We didn't mean to end it. But yeah, I think you're right. Tana and I both have completely different reasons for wanting to end the podcast, I think. I can't speak for her, but if it were up to me and me alone, it wouldn't have ended. I probably would have just stuck it out just because.
What's crazy is obviously because it was good money, and obviously, you know, staying in the job if you're getting good money, even if you hate parts of it. But what's really interesting about this is within the last couple episodes, it definitely seemed like Tana and Brooke were having conversations about them both wanting to end it for their own reasons. And now it kind of looks like Brooke is basically saying that she didn't want any of that at all. And now it's kind of, you know, shining the light and torch back onto Tana and how much was she kind of orchestrating those conversations. And again, if she wants to walk away from the project, if the contract's up, she can walk away from it. But it kind of is showing a more like dishonest portrayal of the ending of it now and how much they maybe actually like care for each other or how much like they cared about the project.
I mean, it's so important to my life, especially like financially, like I needed it there. Like for her, it ended because she was, you know, in my opinion, like being dragged into a lot of controversy because of me, obviously. And
Didn't they break the contract early? You're correct. They did. Yes, I think they did. Yeah. Also, it's really interesting because, you know, the narrative that Brooke talks about a lot, which I totally believe her, is that, you know, Tana is, you know, being dragged down by Brooke's controversies. And all I have to say is I know everyone likes Tana and that's all well and good. And I'm not trying to like rehash anything here, but we have called Brooke out profusely on this YouTube channel, and we have also called Tana out profusely. It almost feels like people are like so focused on Brooke that they like forget what Tana has also done. Like maybe because Tana's stuff came out years ago and Brooke's stuff, which was from the same time period, came out like recently, but I don't know. Tana didn't want to get tied back into being racist. That's what I think is going on here. I think that, you know, Tana spent a huge chunk of her career dealing with like a lot of racist stuff, you know, resurfacing of her. And I think she tried her best to like distance herself from it. And I think she was very successful in distancing herself from it. And I think whenever Brooke's racist tweets came up, they were the first time that people were really presenting them on a mainstream level. I think that it shined a light on both of them together. And also people did start bringing up, well, Tana also has, you know, said this. And I think more so than Tana wanting to walk away from the podcast by like being dragged down by her friend being, you know, saying racist things or being racist, I think it was more so Tana trying to not put herself in a position where she could be like exposed again. Do you agree?
I was just like not doing well mentally. I was really, really struggling. And I felt like every single week I was putting myself in a position to be perceived at like as a version of myself that I was not proud of and not excited about. I was like trying to heal from like things that I was really going through emotionally, but like I had like a ball and chain on my, you know, foot. Cause it's like, I have this thing that I have to sit down and do every single week. And I can anticipate weeks and weeks after that, thousands of hate comments and backlash for things that I said. And it was just like, it was too heavy for me to handle like in the mental state that I was in. So
So from your standpoint, it was more like you would have preferred not to use Bravo term, a
What
perm
wine
pause.
lady? That's Cynthia the diva to you. God, Cynthia, what a great woman. She messaged me not that long ago being like, if you're ever in Paris again, she goes, do you want to rob the Louvre? No, she goes, if you're ever in Paris again, she was like, we need to have another champagne tasting. I was like, ah.
Yes,
Will.
absolutely.
Like maybe just like a timeout. But as that stands today, Tana was more or less like maybe we should just end it type of thing.
Yeah, I would have loved to take a second, especially like when things were.
Cynthia Gate, by the way, was 2023 because I went over to Cynthia's house. Crazy sentence. I went over to her house in 2023, November of 2023, me and my friend Joy, and we got drunk as fuck with Cynthia. She put out such a spread. We went through so many bottles of champagne. We ate so much cheese. Me and my friend Joy got blackout fucking drunk. And then we went to Moulin Rouge, got even more blackout drunk, and then we were clubbing all night. Thank you, Cynthia, for the best pregame I've ever had in my entire life. You are a fucking real one.
Were really happening for me online, like, you know, with everything that went on, especially last year. I would have loved to take like, you know, a few months off and like take a beat and have time to like process that. But we didn't have the option because we had like, you know, this really like set in stone contract. So I think that just, you know, snowballed into something horrible because I was like now doing this thing that I should not have been doing in a state of mind that I should not have been in. And it just finally had to end.
From an outsider's point of view, like not knowing a ton about you prior to this interview or
It was August 2023, Cynthia Gate was?
or even Tana.
Goodness.
But like, you know, just like me, it's just like you know, you can be aware of me but not know a lot about me.
Yeah, Callum Berry and Simply Nessa. I made videos on that. Oh my God. 2020, I think now. That was actually one of my first videos that I did.
And just like, you know,
On
you two, you guys are so
news stories.
prevalent on the internet and have huge fan bases that it's very easy when you're that much in the public eye for.
I wonder. Let me pull this up. Let's see how back Adam McIntyre goes in Tana Mongeau lore. Let me see. When was the surely I covered the Simply Nessa stuff? That started whenever I first started really making videos on all this. Let me type in Tana Mongeau. I know for a fact that I did this. All right, let me see. What do you guys think? Do you think Adam McIntyre made a video on it or not? Oh my God, I was really, really, really on it. 5 years ago, Tana Mongeau got exposed. And I linked to Colin Berry's video
of the meet and greet, and
Oh my
it showed
God,
she was
my voice is so straight here.
completely fabricating the story. He
Oh my
literally
God, I sound so dairy as well.
just had his hand like this and said,
Also, people are like, oh my God, his voice has changed so much. Yeah, because I was masking here. I sound like a little gay boy. I just wasn't allowed to put it on.
word to her. He was not holding her in a chokehold. He didn't do anything. With YouTubers making
That's crazy. What else did I cover? I covered that. I covered Colin's original video. I covered Simply NASA's video as well. Tana Mongeau. Oh my God, wait. I've covered... Look at this. Wow, I covered everything. Tana Mongeau. What is this?
Let's listen.
But Tana, but why are you going through hell right now? Is it because of what?
God, the quality of that video is terrible. I can't even fucking hear anything. I covered Simply NASA as well. Jeepers Creepers.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm gonna need you to forgive my back. Tana had sent a message and showed it, and it was like,
This is
no,
crazy.
the ball is now in my court.
This is crazy. I love when I like always love when people are like, oh my God, but like, did you hear about this? And I'm like, did I hear about it? Baby, I covered it.
People to have different perceptions of you. But, you know, you obviously just referenced being caught up in controversy. In the past, Tana has been caught up in controversy and things like that. And she's also considered a polarizing character. I'm just curious, like, how did you guys come up with the name Canceled? Because it seems like really ironic. The history and the lifespan of your show being
The life
called
of a
Canceled
showgirl.
and having to pause and end it based off of...
So it sounds like she had many reasons to want out. So why blame the timing on Tana? I think what she's trying to say is that, like, they shouldn't have ended it. They should have just taken a break. Is what I'm getting, but I may be wrong here.
Controversy, like...
First of all, I just want to reiterate, I can see both sides here.
Is that a coincidence, or how did that all come to be?
I think it's a little bit of both. Tana, at the time that she started Canceled, it was only her show. Like, it was meant to be just Canceled with Tana Mongeau. And
it's not up to Tana Mongeau to be like Brooke Schofield's lifeline where she only makes money as well. The thing people are just calling out is like how much like Tana jumped shift to like trying to sell the like Trisha podcast, the Not Love line, to like Unwell and make so much money and posting about like, I'm going to get yachts and I'm going to get houses and I'm going to get whatever. It just feels very, very, very insensitive.
And that, I think, was what you're saying, is she kind of thought it was funny because she'd been canceled so many times. It was just like ironic. And also like she wanted to be able, like if somebody were to Google Tana Mongeau canceled, the podcast would come up and not like all her cancellations.
That's crazy.
She's a smart businesswoman.
Yeah. Really brilliant. But then I think it ended up just accidentally manifesting some other serious major cancellations, which I would have loved to do without. But
when you make a mistake, you need to hold yourself accountable and learn from past mistakes. And I'm sure you've thought a lot.
Also, Brooke did a really great podcast. I can't remember the creator's name, but they basically like in depth spoke about her tweets and the ramifications of it. Does anyone remember who the creator was? He was so good. He was so good at it. It was really, really, really great.
A lot about wanting to do things differently. But do you feel like how your show, you know, whether it's the title or just the content?
Yeah, the name manifests it, not y'all's behavior. Literally. Isaac Rothschild. Yeah, it was such a good fucking interview. It was an in-depth conversation where there was like no ifs or buts about what she had posted, and it was great. It was a great listen. I would really recommend going and watching that. We also covered it, but I would just go and watch his video on it.
Talked about, do you feel like it manifested how things played out in reality?
100%. I think we were, especially at the time that like everything happened with me, I was like doing this whole whack-a-mole like takedown situation. I was personally contributing to so many other people's like downfalls. I was talking about drama and things that other people had done, and I was being like accountability police, like expecting that all these people like do better and whatever. And then of course it's like I feel like people felt
it is severely ironic that the situation where she was exposing Clinton Kane, Alyssa Violet, and then she got canceled the week after,
to, you know, hold me to the same standard that I was holding everybody else to, which is totally understandable.
I definitely think like we were, I don't know, like scared, but like it's always like, oh, well, we don't want to be a topic on Canceled. You know, it's like, because it felt kind of like, we have this rule at the Vile Files that like,
it does feel like a lifetime ago.
Rumors. Like if there's something that some blog account or some TikToker is talking about from Reddit or something, like it's not a topic that we're going to talk about, because it's like, we're not giving oxygen to just somebody who like decided to make up something and it went viral.
Yeah,
and
like if JoJo comes on the show and says, you know, I have this thing with Tana, or if you like come on the show and bring something up, we'll talk about it. Or if you go on your social.
Brooke tried dodging it for months before it became mainstream. Oh, trust. We have talked about that. She handled that situation, quite honestly, one of the worst ways I've seen someone handle a situation being called out.
And talk about it. Or if you watch it on a TV show that we're discussing, it's fair game for us. But if it was like a blogger said this, or someone on Reddit saying that, like, and we've made mistakes in the past. The show's like 6 years.
I think my main takeaway is like, the thing I just find so confusing is the way the canceled audience look at Brooke and then look at Tana, whereas I'm like, they've both been incredibly, incredibly racist on the internet. Like, that's my main thing. You know what I mean? Like, when people are like, when you have a conversation of Brooke and the conversation goes to, you know, her being racist, but then if you would bring up Tana Mongeau, the conversation will never go to that. And that to me just feels a little bit hypocritical, which is why whenever I cover Brooke and I see people like going so against Brooke, I want you to know that I'm not on Brooke's side. My point with this is like, even Brooke right now is talking about Tana canceled the podcast because she basically didn't want to be dragged down with me in the racist scandal. And it's like, Brooke's tweets from that time period were also the same time period that Tana Mongeau was being racist on the internet. So that's why I'm always, you know what I mean?
Years old, we've done over 1,000 episodes. It was something that, like, because of that, we were just like, it's yeah. And what sucks is because there's so many times where, like, oh, well, you hear that rumor, and even if you think it's true and you want it, because it's like, oh, well, that would be fun to just debate and discuss and question whether there is. But yeah, we've over the years, we've, there's no like rules in the podcast space. So we try to set our own standards.
Dream guest on my podcast.
There's that thought of like, we're having fun, and maybe it's what I've learned on reality TV, because it's like, when you're on reality TV, you're the topic of conversation. And then you become sensitive and you have more empathy for people just like talking about you. I'm grateful that I learned that way.
I think it's really respectable that you guys do that, because I mean, like you're saying, we definitely did not always, practice that. I feel like it took for me, and I hate to admit it, but sometimes like I have to experience something firsthand before I can empathize with somebody else.
I think that's normal.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So it wasn't until like that started really happening to me, where people, like, I open up my YouTube and I see my face in every thumbnail, and like it's about something completely untrue, and I have no control over it. And I'm like, I have been doing that to people, and we have made this whole huge show based on that alone.
That's not normal. The way she said that sounded really bad, but I will say that she's referencing making like drama videos on people. I was about to call her out for it, but then she immediately said, like, when we would call people out in the titles and thumbnails and stuff. I'm going to be honest, I can understand what she's saying there. Maybe she means broader situations as well. But the fact she immediately followed that up with, like, when we would call people out and put their names in thumbnails, and then mine was in it, you know what I mean, about calling people out and using your platform. That's what I took from it.
Alone.
Yeah.
And so I think that had a lot to do with why we wanted to end it too, because we, everyone was a fan of the show for that reason. And when we couldn't or didn't want to do that anymore, it's either too boring or they changed or...
you were saying it's kind of like whack-a-mole. Like, is there anyone that comes to mind that you would want to like apologize to or say sorry for bringing their stuff to your platform?
Yeah, I think I kind of did it on our last episode also. But there's
no,
some
I
people
agree
I
with
think
you.
I just, not necessarily like, I regret completely bringing it up, but like, I think I drove some like major hate campaigns towards certain people that like didn't necessarily deserve it. Matt Rife comes to mind.
Not Matt
Zach
Rife.
Sang.
Not
like,
Zach
there
Sang.
were people who really didn't do that wrong by me, but I was so hurt.
Too
in the
horrible,
moment that I
man.
was like, let me tell millions of people.
Right.
And it was just not, I would never do it again.
Matt Rife. I do vaguely remember it being big news.
Oh, sorry. It was a really dramatic reaction to something that wasn't that dramatic. And that
Matt Rife is the worst.
a common theme in my life.
Life is all about perspective and how you view things. And obviously you've been through some.
I think Matt Rife and
traumas
also
lately,
Zach Sang deserved it.
Some of which you've acknowledged
Whacked them
are
again.
self-induced, your fault. But like, there's always an opportunity to learn and move forward. And hopefully, like, there's an opportunity to learn from you. Do you feel like your audience members, because a lot of them I think are young and look up to you and Tana, do you feel like people have learned from your and Tana's mistakes? Is there a way to entertain, but also at the same time recognize that, like, yeah, it's tough because, like you said, like, there's, a lot of times when we kind of invoke our rule, it's like, but that would perform, that would it's like, that's the juicy stuff that, like, sometimes it's hard to please, and it always runs the risk of people getting hurt, so to speak. And do you feel like people or your audience have not only looked at you guys and like, oh, we need to hold you two accountable, but like maybe learned themselves about like what to do and not to do when it comes to who they're talking about online?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope at the very least, like, people have noticed like the weight of your words, like specifically even things I've said, so many years ago can have so much impact, like, 10, 15 years later. And there's so much of that happening right now. People who are doing it right this second who don't understand, like, or know that, maybe down the line they won't mean that anymore, or like, they're going to regret it, and it could really hurt somebody. So I hope that people just, have more of a filtration process than at least I did.
love Nikki. I haven't watched the videos yet, but I don't think they would be something I would necessarily react to because Nikki has put so much work into those. Nikki Karian, amazing person, though.
I mean, I would like for people to see that you can grow, and like maybe if you were once somebody who wanted to bully or make other people feel bad or whatever it is, like you can decide one day you don't want to anymore, and that's fine.
You can always change.
Were you
All right, and we'll leave it there because I feel like we've heard what we need to hear from that. Again, it's really interesting just catching you up on what has been happening on social media if you're not up to speed. But basically, yes, since the ending of Cancelled, it seems that Brooke is basically changing her tone in terms of talking about it. And it seems that Tana has completely moved on and is basically now focused on the Not Love line and trying to get that sold and focusing so much on her like professional relationship with Trisha and how much money that can bring her in, because she's literally explicitly talking about how much money it is making her. And obviously people just have a little like distaste for it. But anyways, we will leave it there. I don't love the Not Love Line podcast. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite at all. I don't know why I can't warm to it at all. I really, 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 I don't know why I can't warm to it. I've tried so much to like the podcast because I love a podcast. I will listen to anything. But there's something about the Not Love Line podcast where I feel like I'm just listening to Trisha and like a super fan. It's not for me, but it's for other people, and that's beautiful and wonderful and part of their journey, but it's just not part of my journey. What's it about? It's like, it's very audience participation, and then otherwise they kind of talk about their life. But to me, it just is like, it's so clear that like Tana like really idolizes Trisha, which is fine, but it just seems that she's like emulating her life or trying to like role play as like the new era of Trish, and it kind of falls a little bit flat for me personally. But again, people love it, and that's part of their journey, and that makes me happy that people are happy.